Welcome to the Global Love Revolution, a space to have conversation with evolutionary women to talk about subjects that matters to our humanity to create a better world for future generation. This is an evolution channel that broadcasts every Sunday. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button below this video. Today, episode number 4, we have a super evolutionary woman, Sandra Skals. She is going to share with us her insight and knowledge regarding the topic of mindset and perceptions of self. Before we dive into our real talk with Sandra, here is a little story. When I was 16 years old, I studied philosophy in high school, and I watched the Matrix Revolution. I read the story about Plato Cave. This thought shared by the philosopher planted some important seed in my mind. I remember that must be something beyond my determining seeing. My entire life, justice has been my driving force. I became so interested in how I could help myself and others to be free from fear or pain. I've always been the voice for the people, and I tried out so many jobs because I wanted to see and understand what other people have been through in their life. 6 years ago, I finally started to really unlock my mind and being able to go to the next level, which happened during the 4 days meditation course. So I kept going and find tools that expanded my vision of what was possible for me. The world started to open up to new dimension of opportunity, and I watched how my mind gradually expanded and I could change my behavior. As a result, I got myself out from the victim state of mind. After I finished my bachelor in communication and business, I began to studying psychotherapy and helped me to detach and let go of all the limiting beliefs that were not mine. I was so amazed with my learning, and I decided to teach others with what I learned and help them to identify their true self and reconnecting and free their mind. Now, Sandra also loved to create her life around people, and she loved to help young girls to have a voice of herself and to stand up and speak up what they feel true. And she also loved to laugh and enjoy the company with friends and families. And of course, she would spend some time for herself walking in the nature and just chill on the couch with a cup of coffee or tea. Now, one of her favorite quotes that Sandra loved, she says, hearing from one of the Hollywood star, Will Smith. I believe this said it on the Grammy Award. And she says she loved his voice. So I'm trying to do this. Confucius says, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Now this is a little bit about Sandra, and we are going to get into Meet Sandra in Life. See you there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Love Revolution. Today is a sunny Sunday. So we have a super evolutionary woman, originally from Denmark, and now she is reside in Berlin, Germany. Let's welcome Sandra Skals. Sandra!
Yeah.
Hey, we're finally here! I am so excited. You know, the topic we're going to talk about is really in a deeper concept, you know, and a lot of people kind of misconception about it. I know what we're going to touch today is about spirituality and also about mind awareness.
Yeah.
And I would love you to share with us about this. You've been talking about it. You said, I want to change the concept, the perception of self. So tell us a little bit more. What exactly is perception of self?
Yeah, so the perception of yourself is how you see yourself from the outside. So you can go into a meta perception and then watch yourself, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also how you for instance, it's your identity. Who are you really, right? So a lot of people think they are their names. Some people think they are identify themselves with their work.
Mm.
So when they lose their job, they just lose direction. And or they think they are who their mom or dad told them to be, or who society told them to be. So I feel, and what I see from my work as well, is that we are experiencing a spiritual crisis at the moment, where a lot of people are lost, also
Mm-hmm.
because we can't use the industrial way of seeing life and purpose anymore, because there's so much more to it than that. We are opening up for the whole spiritual aspects, that we are more than just our bodies, we're more than just our thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so this is a whole puzzle. This is so interesting, because if you can tune in to who you really are, then you can start living from an honest perspective as well. So your perceptions are also different, because they are who you really are.
Okay, that's
Yes.
interesting. So you were talking about when you refer the perception of self, it's basically is, some people will say about your source, your spirit, your really true self, and how you change it, how you find it. You have to really go through a lot of different, like kind of like an evolution, right? Different
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
it's like, it was so amazed that I was talking to you about your own life journey. You give me so many different things that happen, different events happening in your life, and you still can stumble across. You're like, and I don't know what happened, but I would just take it. One word that came to me about your being is resilient.
Yeah.
Resilient, because that you have that power, you can overcome all of this. But
Mm.
I'm just interested to know that how did you do that? What is your secret? Like, oh, is it
My
a
secret.
special tool that you use, and then you just enhance your power and you change your life like this?
Yeah, I think that I just became obsessed with figuring out how to change perception, and I got some great teachers along the journey. And I remember
Mm,
that it started because I was chronically ill for many years and had a car accident when I was 19, and after that, um, I was very, very challenged with my health, and I didn't like it.
mm,
And also, so what happened was that I think inside of me there has always been a desire and a voice telling me that you can do it, that no matter what happens you can just do it. And
mm,
it doesn't really, it's just a voice that tells me that there must be a different way. And I think also a thing
mm,
that is very interesting is that I
mm-hmm,
always I was always challenging status quo. So from a little child, like when I was a child, when my dad and mom said, do this, I said, no, I want to do it like this. And I said no the whole time. I was like, no. And then I figured out a way. Or if they locked me into my room and said, you have to be there because
uh-huh.
you were not good or something, I would crawl out of the window and start screaming and say, help, like help. And my mother, she would like go outside and say, I didn't do anything. Okay? So they put my brother in there, and then they
Uh-huh.
let me be free. I just what I now when I sit and think about it, it was like more like an idea that I always had in my head, that I can get whatever I want to if I
Uh-huh.
just do it enough. Like if I just do it long enough, if I nag long enough, if I something long enough, I will get there. And it has not always been the best way to do things, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But it got me where I am today.
Oh, wow. That's
So
very interesting. Like, so back to you just reminded me about a quote from one of the author. Um, it's about resilience, right? He says, resilient is knowing that you are the only one that has the power, and
yeah,
you have the responsible to pick yourself up. So you did that, that's amazing. So Sandra, can you share with us like maybe one particular event in your life that became a turning point for you? You started to wanting to help yourself to fully transform and also wanting to serve others.
Yeah, so actually it was a very clear turning point, and it was in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
where I've just moved to Berlin, and I was still struggling with my body. And one day I started looking into more alternative treatments, and I said, fuck, fuck fuck doctors, fuck everything, and I'm just gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna give up on that. So I stumbled over a meditation course over 4 days in a Buddhist center in Berlin, in Schöneberg.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there, and I took my friend Mette from Denmark, and I forced her to come with me, and we just sat there for hours, just sitting, like, and doing all these exercises. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting, right? It's so. And Mette, she was like, yes, I'm not sure I'm gonna come tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I have to do it. And afterwards, he said to us, well, you guys have, and I got so convinced that this was a good idea. This must be something that, and I've never tried it before. I heard about it in yoga, meditation, you heard about it, but I didn't have the patience to do so. And then I started, and my life was actually a mess. I was so unhappy. I pretended to be happy in a way. I was like, oh, I'm living in Berlin. It's fine. It's woohoo. It's cool to live in Berlin. Meanwhile, I was just sometimes, I don't know what to do anymore with my life. I lost direction, and yet I didn't. So I went to that, and then they forced us to meditate at home. And of course, that didn't happen really. Only the first day. I sat and I looked into this candle, and I looked and I looked, and I thought, it's not really good, this is. So I kind of didn't do it. So I went to a hypnotherapist afterwards. And this was a cool one. And he did some exercises with me, and he said, yeah, you can change your thoughts and everything. And then he did an exercise with me where I had to close my eyes and imagine that I was turning my arm even further backwards with my eyes closed, just imagining it. And that became such an interesting experience for me, that it got me to the idea that, oh, this is a whole different dimension, because I was used to a different life, and I was also, how can I explain that, my thoughts had taken over my life at that point. OCD thoughts, like, you're not good enough, you look stupid, you can't do that, you'll never heal, who do you think you are? All these voices people have in their head, and they were just, it was huge. Every time I went to the fitness gym, I would see myself, and I was just, oh, you're so ugly and you're so fat. You are a failure. You couldn't do this. You can't do that. Now you're gonna go and do some sports, and it's just gonna end like it always ends. You're too fat. And the voices just kept going. So meditation became my turning point, I would say, back then. And then I started to observe my thoughts, and this guru from Canada, he started to say, you can follow your thoughts on the sky. And I was like, what? I was like sitting there and then trying to convince everybody else that, yeah, your thoughts are just on the sky. And they were like, sure, that's cool that you do that, but we don't want to go. And so and after that, I figured out, I started researching a little bit on YouTube about frequencies and tones, and how could I find something that would relax me. And then that started, and I had some good doctors as well that kind of helped me with treatments. And then I bought a book that's called Living Your Dreams from Barbara Berger or something. And that was about the universe. And I had such a resistance in what you call God or the universe that I was like, yeah, whatever again, right? And then I read I read that book. It took me forever, but I read it and I started implementing some of the exercises in it. And I also experienced that my pain would be wouldn't be that strong anymore. And then I remember I went to Denmark that summer to visit my parents, and then they had said stuff, or I was too vulnerable to actually be in an environment where somebody could challenge my journey at that point. But there I remember that I was thinking, whoa, so your thoughts control it, right? This was really huge. And then I did some of the exercises. I remember, as I said, I felt so ugly. And then I started to in the book was written that if you do something 21 times, it is stored in your subconscious mind, in your long-term memory, right? So I started saying in front of the mirror, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, 21 times. And then I said a new phrase. And after a week or so, I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, I think I'm actually beautiful. So that started it started to shift, and then I stopped, and then it came back, and that was kind of the way that I got interested in coaching. So so slowly it started, and then I remember I was writing my bachelor project, and then I found this coach called Tony Robbins. Most people know him, right? And then I decided, after watching his stuff and jumping in the kitchen, my emotions and into my body, like, I have a body, oh my God, and then and then I decided to change my perception of how to write a bachelor project, so it should be fun for me to do. And that was how it started, my perception work. And that became the turning point in my life, I would say, because in that moment I started to gaining power and control in my life from feeling victimized and hopeless, and I would never go, I would never make it in a way, or I would always I wouldn't go for my dreams. My identity, my blueprints were like totally challenged back then, because I used to do sports, I used to be active, I used to be different things. So I was challenged on that a lot, and in resistance. And knowing that it is possible to change your emotions and the feelings about a certain thing, that became a turning point, because then I could go and I could decide how I would react to things. I became less reactive.
That's
it took
very
years.
interesting.
It's not like it happened overnight, but it took years.
Well, so Sandra, what was that driver force that keep you going? Because it's so hard. A lot of people have challenge in life. Just one little challenge, they say, I give up. I can't do anything. But for you, it's like it sounded like you have something like just push you forward and forward. And what was that?
I think it comes when it comes to it. It's when I feel what it is. It's justice. I feel it was that things are unfair in this world. That I have something that I need to change. And as I said, I was a child that always felt everything was injustice. Like that's where it came from. I think that why should I do that when I don't want to? It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I don't work hard, but it means that I would like to work with things that make sense. And also, what I remember a lot was I like to work with justice, to figure out what's the source of the things, why is
Mm-hmm.
this happening. I want equality for everyone, and the poor people, the rich, everyone should feel free. Personally, we should live in a free world. So on a bigger scale, that
Mm-hmm.
is what's driving me. That's the driving force.
Wow, that's
Freedom.
powerful. That's powerful because it seems like this is your innate belief that you're born with. You know, it came with you.
Yeah.
So do you think that every one of us has this? And if not, let's say someone that they says, I don't know what is my driving force. How can I do it? How can I change my perception? Do you have any, maybe a tips that you can share with people to start to transform their perception and find themselves?
Yeah. So to answer the first thing, yes, I do. I do believe that everything on this earth has a dharma, a life purpose. So like the trees, the
Mm-hmm.
animals, everyone is doing something that's in this cycle, the circle of life.
Mm.
The only ones who are not, if you start to study Buddhism or Japanese culture, philosophy, and other ancient cultures,
Mm-hmm.
are humans. We tend to be born with our, what I call, the cosmic self, and that's the purpose. So every little child actually knows what to
Mm.
do. And but the thing that's happening is that we get information. We're programmed as small children to be something that we are not. We are
Mm.
questioned, why do you do that, do this in that way, you are not good enough, like. And a little child is just like a sponge, and the first 3 years, that's what science suggests, at least, that's where the main programming is happening. So that's the main programming, and these subconscious beliefs are just ruling the lives of people without them even knowing that that's the core belief that they have. It could be anything. It could be, um, if you are financially broke all the time, right? It could be a good idea to look at your blueprints and what you were told, the verbal programming. What were you told
Mm.
from your parents? What did you hear? And
Mm-hmm.
what did you see them do? So it could be like, the classical example would be, um, money doesn't hang on trees or something like that, right? As if, anyways,
Yeah. Or
but
money is evil. Like this
yeah,
is a
money
common
is
one. Yeah.
evil. Rich people are evil. Rich
Evil.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
all these kind of beliefs. And then it becomes your program. It becomes your self-talk, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't know it. And there's a lot of that. It could be what happened in school. It could be a trauma. It could be, um, I remember I was struggling with reading, right? Reading in front of groups. So it wasn't before I went to therapy and my teacher asked me to read in front of the group, because the setting was set as a therapeutic setting. That changed my reading, that I wasn't afraid of it anymore. But I
Mm.
remember somebody said something in school, right? That I was bad at it. And then it became uncomfortable. So
Ah.
can start with that. And yeah, so so I believe that everybody's here on earth to fulfill their life purpose. Uh,
Mm.
they have to find it within the jungle of programming or beliefs or information they adapted as children. Um,
I think
and
that's
also
yeah.
adults, like some, but the suggestion is, at least what I know, is that it started very early on.
Mm. That's very, this is a life journey for everyone.
Yeah,
The way that you demonstrate a really good example about that you think you're not good at reading, but you went to the therapy session, then you realize you actually can read. So I personally have been through that process. Is that I thought I'm not good at writing, but someone criticized me, reject me. I was like, oh, I'm not good at writing, so I stopped learning, and
yeah,
I thought I'm not good enough. Then
exactly.
there was a point, there was a point that I realized that, hey, actually I can write. I started to read more and I can write. So I feel, okay, people watching this, you have to know something. If you realize you're not good at something, right? Ask yourself this question: where is this thought came from? Is this someone else in your life that criticize you, give you the most horrible belief that program in your mind, and now you cannot get out? So ask yourself the question, right?
Exactly.
What kind of belief I receive? Someone else, is it from your mom, from your dad, from your teacher, or people that surround you?
Yeah.
So that's great, Sandra. Sandra, there's a question you just mentioned about the cosmic self. What is, can you define that for the audience? What does that mean, cosmic self?
Exactly. Like, I think I touched it a little bit, but the cosmic self is the true self. So it is how you were born, like Dharma, your life purpose. So you're born and you're just perfect, right? A child knows what to do. A child also knows who the child is. And but as I said, throughout the years, the purpose gets disrupted all the time, because it's taking out, it's put, like, you have all these selves: the ideal self, the denial self, the fake self. And in order for, this is actually important. So in order for a child to survive, it knows it has to adapt to certain circumstances. So it knows that, the parents have to take care of the child. The child knows that. But the child also knows that if it doesn't, to some degree, obey the parents' wants and desires, or whatever they want the child to do, they can risk to get abandoned and thrown out of the tribe. So this is a tribal fear of getting abandoned and die. So it's actually an original fear that causes the adaptation of the different patterns. And so the patterns are that of what the child is not. So it starts early on that you get disconnected from your true purpose. So, the first years you don't really realize it, because you're in the process and everything. But I think a lot of people get to a point, maybe after high school or whatever, they don't know who they are, right? So they got to figure out what to do. So, but who is actually figuring that out, right? Who is the person that was created throughout the years? So who's making the choice? Who's behind the what is it called? I forgot.
The driver's seat.
Yeah, exactly. Who's driving the car? So the result of this is is what we can see in society is the people who are like chronically ill. They have different diseases or post-traumatic stress, depression, and lifestyle issues, stress, chronic stress, all these kind of things. And that's most likely because they don't know who they are. And they don't know why they're here, because nobody lives in this world can live a good life if they don't know who they are, because they came to be something.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. You really have to find your cosmic self. Like, I think cosmic self is always with us, but the problem is when we grow up, we started to like you're talking about, you program different belief, and people started to create barriers. They totally transform you to a different person, and you become like the self that you didn't even know. When you look at the mirror, it's like, am I beautiful? No, not really. Right? You become that person. It's like, it's not really, I need to do some surgery here, and here, and then you totally lost yourself. So Sandra, share with us, I know earlier you're talking about meditation, it's actually helped you, shifted your life. So is there another tools that you can share with people? Let's say, someone in the position right now, the person is really struggling, wanted to get through this and find her cosmic self, as you just mentioned. What is the most effective tool they can use it right away in their daily life?
Yeah, so I would always start asking people the question what their value system is. Like, what kind of values do they have as a core values, right? I remember when I was in a session first time with my therapist at school, he asked me this question, right? And I looked at him, and I was challenged because I never thought about my values, like for real. And I think he sat and looked at me for 45 minutes. Meanwhile, I was looking at looking at the floor, and he gave me a piece of paper, like 5 pieces of paper, and I should write my values. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, my values? And so finally I got it right, and I wrote honesty. So honesty is my number one value. So that was how it really started for me. Like, it wasn't how it started. I said, this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right? But that was kind of what was the source, that or the foundation for all my experiences in my life. Because I figured out at that time I wasn't honest with myself. It wasn't so much to be honest with other people. First of all, I didn't trust myself, and I wasn't honest with myself. So it doesn't matter if you trust other people, but if you don't trust yourself, it's a problem. So everything started, and this is where, this is in a miraculous way, in a way. I put it on my wall, and then situations would come to me where I would have to make a decision. Should I be honest or dishonest? Honest or dishonest? Constantly, as I was like, what is this? Like, how dishonest have I been in a situation? I'm talking about every situation, and this is every situation. Do you want to drink that cup of coffee or not? Am I honest right now? So it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit to be honest to yourself. Is this good for myself? Is this empowering myself or not? Is this an empowering thought, or is it not? Like, thoughts come and go. We will always have like this chatter and everything, but the question is, can you control it? And so secondly, what I would advise is to start to track your thoughts. Simply start to understand. This helped me along the way, is that you are not your thoughts. They are programs, patterns, beliefs, information, whatever it is. It can be everything. And write them down. Maybe take a journey with you. Take a journey. Every time you get a feeling like, or standing in a line. I used to stand in a line and get pissed off because people were too slow. It's like, who's talking right now, right? And I started investigating that, wrote it down. Where is it in my body? Why am I also feeling lower back pain? And I'm irritated all the time. So I figured out that was actually my dad's voice. So, because he used to, hurry up, we don't have time, we have to work, I don't have time, do you think I have time? Time was, and I was like, yeah. So track it. A thing I used to do was to postpone things. So as I remember one time I started writing it down. Just, even though I had money, I wouldn't go and pay my bills. It was such a weird thing. So finally, I took my money, I took my everything, and I went to the bank, and I was like, I'm gonna shut up, right? And then this voice, like, whatever, I imagined the voice sitting there, and I was like, on my left shoulder, actually. And in a bank, I remember there was maybe a few people somewhere, and I was like, I am going to pay my bills, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I paid my bills, and I was like, stop. And those people, I think, oh, that's going on. And so I was like, but like that, I don't care about it. So I was just like, said hi to them, and I went, and then I was on my bike, and then I was like, all the way home, I said to that voice, I said, what are you going to do right now to annoy me? Nothing. And then I just... You can keep a journal and write at night, or you can take it with you. But I had a lot of good experiences with it, actually, too. And what it gives you, again, is freedom, because then you start to understand, oh, that is actually not who I really am. It's a part of me, and it might be there forever. I don't know, but I can actually turn down the volume. You can also say stuff like, thank you. Thanks for sharing. I acknowledge you. I'll take care of it later, right? It's like a little child. Like, it keeps nagging until you give it attention. So it's like what everybody says about what you resist is going to grow greater. Or, it's just going to be bigger if you don't acknowledge it. So that was what really started another dimension of handling my thoughts.
Well,
Because also to see it from another perspective, if you buy your thoughts, like I said, buy your thoughts, if you, every time that somebody says something to you, you take it personally, or whatever happens, or you hear something or a situation, like you probably also know it, a lot of people overreact. Somebody said something, or a guy on a date didn't want to date them, so we take it super personally and interpret something that has never been said, right? So but it's because you feel something, and you get imprisoned by the feeling. And the thing that happens inside of you is also that you release stress hormones, for instance, or you can move into fight flight mode. And if you keep having triggers in your environment, society, but amongst friends, parents, whatever, that triggers that adrenaline, then you are going to get older before you should.
Wow.
Because thoughts control your emotion, like your reaction, like your biochemistry in the body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
If you get scared, yeah. If you, for instance, some
that's
people
scary.
yeah, it's actually a little bit scary. That's why it's so important to start to take a look at the thoughts, what they are doing to you, because they are illusion. You can also, like, today I heard something funny, and that was you can compare them with farts. You just popping up, but they're not really like, yeah, you don't really smell you don't analyze your farts, do you?
Well, I guess, we all need to be careful what we think about and then capture it. Like, if this is negative, capture it and ask, oh my God, what is this negative thought from?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So just to summarize, this three effective tools that you can use. First is to have a value. Ask yourself, what is your top 5 values? And I think I kind of feel like the value is also about your cosmic self. That is the quality trait of your cosmic self. Then when you are in doing an action, then you have to ask yourself, like Sandra just did, right? Ask yourself, okay, her value is honesty. Ask yourself, okay, this is good for me or not? Your question, your answer has to be honest. So if it's not honest, then you are not aligned with your value. So that's powerful.
Exactly.
And then
if I can add something to that,
yeah.
I mean, you are also being super fair towards other people. So for instance, I just told this to a friend of mine. We were training yesterday, and he was super hardcore athletic training. And I said to him, so I talked about honesty, and I said, so my value is honesty. And the reason why is that when I'm honest to myself, you also know that when I come here and train with you, it's because I really want to train with you. Right? So you know that I'm not going to be grumpy about it, or think or tell my friends, yeah, I went training, but I don't know, I just went because I kind of said yes, and that it's so the other person also feels weird. Like, you can feel these things. So how does it feel if you are going to someone, or like you are promising something, and you are talking behind that person's back because you are being dishonest, right? Or saying, or being, or complaining, or whatever that might be. But it's just because you're not honest towards yourself, at least, right?
Well, that's great. That's a good way to kind of measure, right? Your thought and your action, whether they are aligned with your truth.
Exactly, yeah.
That's perfect. And so the second thing you're talking about is it's basically having a notebook with you, carry with you, and then capture the thought, capture your emotion. And then you can come back and reflect and see, oh, actually this thought is from, the old belief that you have from someone else. And then the third is just your thought is not really you. Is that right? Your thought, you shouldn't believe your thought. It just, you have to question, I guess. You have to question your thoughts when you have especially when you have the negative one, right? You have to start asking, why, what are you talking about, right? Kind of like having an inner conversation with yourself. That's very interesting. Well, thank you, Sandra, for sharing all of this little wisdom. I hope you guys get it. Now, right now, Sandra, what are you working on? What is life as you're trying to emerge through your life right now?
Yeah, so, well, I am writing different articles for a healing magazine in Denmark. That's what I do also. But what I want to help people with is identifying their true selves, and through that work, live their true selves. With all kind, I have like a lot of different tools that you can use, and there are different approaches because each person is so unique. So that requires deeper spiritual work as well, and really figuring out why they are here on the planet, because of course it's just better for everybody, because there are more people would be more happy if they lived who they really are, right? And
I'm with you.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I'm working on a podcast channel as well. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but that's what I'm working on, where people can share their stories. Because I feel that I just recently I talked to so many different people, and all of a sudden they share they share their stories, and I think, I can give one story, and I can tell it from my perspective, right? And some people might think, oh, that's really inspiring. It resonates to my story. Maybe I can, get some help. Then another person might come from another country or whatever. They have a story, or they're a single mom. They overcame domestic abuse or whatever it might be. She tells a story, right? It reaches somebody else. And this, I think it's also so important to share that we are not alone in this. We are not meant to be alone, and we can help each other so that we can raise the standard, and we can raise the energy as well on a bigger scale, right? So that we can stop polluting the earth, where like our life sorts, and acting like parasites at our own host. And this is what I want to do. So it's the quiet revolution, right? But it's each individual has to turn on their light, because it's really, really beautiful when we can live our true selves. It's just more beautiful.
Yes. Oh my God, I couldn't agree more. Yes, you came to the right place, Sandra. Yes, you carry a very important mission. Like I know a lot of people would love to learn more about, your journey, as well as you have started some of the teaching, and if people want to kind of like connect with you and learn more about you, do you have a place for them to go to?
Yeah, so you can just connect on Facebook, and my name is Sandra Mariana Skals, or write me an email. It's sandraskals.gmail.com. And then my website is not finished, but I can share that as well.
Sure.
And that
sounds good. All right, guys, I will actually post the email address on this video below. If you want to connect with her, write her, and ask question. She loves question, I know. Yeah. Oh, Sandra, so one last nugget question for you. So how do you define an evolutionary woman?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would define an evolutionary woman as a woman who stands up for herself, and also who dives deep into her divine power, the feminine and the masculine side of her, to really stand and stand strong with her beliefs, and like, again, the cosmic self, it's for everyone, like and do what's what she's supposed to do, and love it, and share it, and change and create change in the world.
That's beautiful. I love it. Sandra, you are one of an evolutionary women, and you are super. I love it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for you. And thank you for your work. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandra, for playing with us today. And thank you guys for watching. Remember,
every one of you, doesn't matter you're women or man, you can step up into your evolutionary path and love yourself, love others, and do something that matters. So together we can create a revolution. So thank you for watching and see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.